A big shout out to our knowledge partners, Meraki Advisors, a real estate research and advisory firm in India.
Hello everyone, welcome to the RealtyLife podcast where we talk all things real estate and lifestyle. My name is Swarnima Bavadeep. I'm the founder and host of this podcast. Today our guest is Mr. Karan Shetty, who is the CEO of RJ Group. Stay tuned to see the entire conversation unfold. Please like, share and subscribe so we can create more of this content. Thank you. Hi Karan, welcome to the RealtyLife podcast. I've been wanting to have you on the podcast for two main reasons. One is that, of course, you're one of the first few male members from the real estate industry to be on the podcast. And second is because of your background in architecture. I think you're going to bring a very unique perspective to this podcast. So just to start you off, tell us a little bit about, your professional experience and how you kind of transitioned into real estate.
Firstly, thank you for having me as part of your podcast. To start off with, real estate has been part of my entire upbringing and part of my DNA to a large extent. Primarily starting off with my grandfather who got into road contracts, and then my father who transitioned into, building, first building villas and then moving on to apartments and also getting into land acquisition. So we've been hearing this all our entire life. So if you ask me what I know without studying, this is the only business we know without studying. But then, of course, when going forward, at the age of 16, all credit going down to my father in terms of, making me work the hours when, we have to play. He used to send me to the construction site and just make me stand and be like, be all ears. This is going to help you someday. Of course, back then we were cribbing about it. So that sort of helped build that interest in being part of this particular line.
Okay. I mean, you started off young, but was architecture an intentional choice?
Well, I think the first thing which really attracted me was good design, good buildings. Okay. And of course, in the growing days, we've never seen as many good buildings. And it's only, when we see it on the internet, when we had the internet era, and then probably when we used to travel to a few other cities. And, we used to always think, we've got such a beautiful city in Bangalore. What if we can bring this particular element? Why not have certain kind of buildings? And especially when we travel to different cities like Singapore and Dubai, we see a lot of Indian talent and especially Indian workers building those beautiful buildings, and why not have that similar finishes here? So that sort of, got me thinking that, the best way to create or to control an entire project or a product is to be an architect. And what better way than to get a perspective entirety in terms of what your end finish is, rather than have someone else conceptualize that for you, at least, build that skill set, because I already had the background of construction and with a team knowing how to put up, a building.
True. And I mean, they also made sure that interest kind of stayed on path. So makes sense to have gone into.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think intentionally as well. I think my father might have done it, not blaming.
All our fathers have, believe me. I went into design, I think, because somehow the creativity came through, and he said, "Okay, this is a space that you can go into." So, yeah.
So I'm not comparing. I think I don't think I would do any other business but real estate and design. And of course, being an architect has its own pluses, and also the way things are done in India, especially, is very interesting. So architecture plays a huge role in terms of putting the end product down, especially in today's day and age.
You said you're the CEO of RJ Group. What does that actually entail? What does the CEO of a real estate company do?
So basically, the main role what I've been given is mainly, of course, firstly, design, which is a given being an architect. Most importantly, in terms of operations, in terms of, selecting the right property, deciding the right vendors, seeing the right efficiency in terms of how a building can be built, identifying the right set of customers. And also the main goal for me as a CEO is to play the long-term game for RJ. I mean, I know certain paths when you take in business, it takes some certain time, but we always have a clear intent. Okay, this is a 10-year plan. This will work when we have these many products. So we've been particularly specific that we don't go on a volumetric game, because considering the complexity of India and the governance, so we're very clear that whatever products we build or whatever products we put are landmarks by its own, and automatically, we have the ability in terms of doing something there, or challenging ourselves further. So as a CEO, that is our main goal, and for me as well, personally and professionally, it helps me personally challenge our company from what we were doing to what we are doing. So currently, the main goal is transitioning from what my father had built and to what we are doing currently right now.
I mean, tell me a little bit about the history of RJ Group, when it started off, or what it started off as, and now what it is.
So my father, Mr. Karan Shetty, he did his mechanical engineering in BVB in Hubli, and when he came to, Bangalore, the whole typical thing is generally being a Bangalorean, most of the parents try and make their kids doctors. So my father keeps joking that that's something I never wanted to do. And my grandfather being in the construction business, doing road works, dams, of course, they've all come from smaller backgrounds with no real opportunity. So we came from a temple town called Shankar Narayana back in the Udupi Taluk. So when they came here, my father, his cousins all had the opportunity of studying in Baldwin Boys. So that sort of changes the whole generation. Education plays a big role. So, of course, once my dad graduated, he came into Bangalore, of course, because of the climate and the geography of it. So he started off, picking up properties, building, big houses and selling it. So it was individual houses. That was a trend back in the 80s to the early 90s.
There's also enough space for individual houses back then.
Lots and lots of space. And I think that time, even the town planning and all were a lot more far-sighted. All thanks to them, at least we have some properties which are large sizes, which have fetched a lot of value today in terms of a real estate price. So that was initially how it started off. And today we've gotten expertise in terms of land acquisition, buildings, having our own in-house finishing teams. So that's where how RJ come in. And of course, when I've joined, I've of course learned that whole grind in terms of what we're already doing. Yeah. And more importantly, rather than continuing the same thing, I became an architect in terms of adding an additional arm in terms of creating different spaces. So that is how it all transitioned.
I assume you studied architecture in Bangalore. So just, as an architect, how has the landscape changed over the last 10 years in terms of design?
Immensely. I think earlier the importance of design was just elevation, right? I think, everyone is aware. Like I remember there was a time when they go to New York and they see a building, you're like, hey, can I have this elevation? So of course, they of course followed function, but it was very elevation driven. There was no real function. There was no carbon neutrality. But what's happened is, I think education, exposure, the internet, and Bangalore right now, I would say, being a global city in terms of the companies we have, people have that kind of exposure. They want certain things happening. So that sort of demand has sort of driven the real estate scape. And also driven the way people want design implemented in their projects. So a lot of things which you see right now, like how we all say amenities and all that. So all that eventually will go, all that probably will adapt to the newer trend. We have people, we have all kinds of customers from, especially Bangalore. We have people from Calcutta, from Delhi, from
it's a cosmopolitan city.
It's cosmopolitan completely. So each one have their own belief system. Then they come with elderly parents, so they need something for them. Then they have kids. So everything is gotten very, very detail oriented. So the landscape of architecture has changed. Whether you see the malls today, whether you see commercial buildings, it's not like what it was. And developers themselves are taking those initiatives as well.
The market is changing, so I guess it's a natural change for developers to suit new needs. What are these new needs and expectations that now customers have?
Well, it's never ending, the new needs. But of course, the way things are changing every quarter in terms of the requirement. And I think primarily COVID has played a huge role in terms of making people realize what they actually need, right? Rather than what to make, how to save, all these things, what they actually need.
Can you elaborate on that?
So currently now the trend is people are all looking at, homes where they're going to live long term, right?
Okay.
Homes they could probably live that last few years with their parents or, with their kids who are probably going abroad. So there's a lot of there's a lot of touch point. There's a lot of emotion driven when it comes to home buying. So currently the earlier, pre-COVID, people are like, just I want an apartment. They never really cared about quality. It was just the pricing and it was just done. Now, of course, a lot of regulations, all these things coming into play. A lot of people are like, let me buy a home which is long term, and I'd probably buy something and be happy with it. And also they are aware that if something's good, will appreciate, and even if they exit tomorrow, they get the right buyer.
Yeah.
So the buyers are more informed, more in terms of the market, also in terms of what the requirement is, primarily.
When you've spoken so much about design centricity, what is RJ Group doing to kind of, keep up with the changing time? You said every quarter the needs are changing. So how do you guys work through that?
I mean, we focus on, my father is very, very clear that we do not do anything without any quality. Okay. Quality is the first thing to follow. Spaces, sizes, all these things are very, very important. We don't cram up a 3-bedroom. We don't cram up a kitchen. And we allow clients to sort of, have a call. And especially the woman of the house who comes in, who spends maximum time. She wants the right, planning, the kitchen, the light and ventilation requirements. So primarily keeping, that in mind, we've seen changes. We've built products where sometimes, the market's not probably there yet, but then suddenly a year or two we see people coming in, or when we complete the product, we see suddenly a huge demand and there's a wipeout. So I primarily believe that every quarter we can't change our product, but at least have an insight in terms of a buyer's mind. At least 80-85% if you try and achieve what a buyer requires, whether in terms of kitchens, whether in terms of husband and wife, the work environment, their parents who move in from
hybrid working
so that is sort of changed. So people have become more detail oriented in terms of their planning. So we try and adapt to that requirement in terms of probably adding features. We don't go into that offer business, which for sales we go more of adding features, saying okay, you can probably make 3 bedrooms with 3 attached toilets. You can customize to a large extent. So these are things which we allow and we adapt with the customer requirement. But beyond that, we also are learning and understanding the trend to a large extent.
Do people still want kitchens? I mean, considering most part of Bangalore
doesn't need kitchen. Yeah, I think yes.
The size is probably going down.
Yeah, I think the size probably would go down. That again depends. Now, see, the thing is, clientele beyond 40, all of them prefer kitchen. Whereas, the people who are still bachelors or just living remotely, they prefer a smaller, maybe a 2-bed, just with a smaller kitchen size. But I think kitchen is needed. But there is a demand for that as well. I'm not denying it.
Yeah.
But slowly and more surely, I think it's more again service driven. Whether you have a maid coming and trying to help you, you have someone who can come and take care of your elderly parents. So all these integrations also another big requirement suddenly coming in.
Okay, so I guess the community plays a large role in how.
Of course, and I think community is the only thing a builder can build.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. It doesn't matter whether you're doing a smaller size or you're doing a larger size apartment. The builder's goal, and at least for us, is when we see people occupy it and use it the way you need to use it, right?
Yeah.
For us, that 1 year maintenance period, whatever we do, we try and guide people in terms of what can be done, what can't be done. And I would say about 90% of the times we're successful. So if the community grows, automatically your property appreciates and you get a good name out of it, which is which is what a developer requires, more importantly.
Very satisfactory also if it was the right.
Yes, absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about your baby, the Third Eye Design Studio, and what you guys do through it.
So third eye design is something I go to. It's like my meditation center. That's something.
Okay.
That's me, right? So that's not dealing with plan sanction or dealing with all kinds of challenges in real estate, whether it's vendor driven and all that. So it's more of something I connect with. The spaces, my subconscious talking in terms of providing the right design. You need that one hobby, or you need that one thing. Everybody does, any business, or even in real estate especially, where you can add value by yourself. And for me, that is what I tell people the magic word, which is mojo. That's your mojo in terms of what you can add. So that strength, that is strength for me. That's something which I am good at, right? So I try as much as possible implement. So we focus, of course, mainly on our own projects. We focus on designing architecturally. We also have a service where we render to our existing clients for interior design. Of course, we tell them the advantage of working with us is, you complete faster, and you have you're completing the product at the right price.
Technically, you're in-house, right?
Yeah, in-house. But the thing is, if a customer is coming, he'll be like, why do I need to come to you? So, of course, we show them our products. One is they like it. And second, of course, we have to deliver to them at the right price. And so those are the things, challenges there. And then also we do a lot of, specific curated corporate interiors or commercial spaces, which interest us. Otherwise, we don't really go out of the way. Yeah, because we're focused on.
Anything in interiors is a tough, challenging game. It's not.
It's fun, but I mean that's the thing. We put a timeline to it, and if it goes beyond a certain timeline, we don't generally step into it because our primary focus is real estate, and this is there to sort of help support the clientele in terms of what their immediate requirement for an interior perspective is. So we work on a fixed timeline, so that helps in terms of completing.
Controls the atmosphere.
Controls the atmosphere as well, yeah.
So in terms of trends, what do you see the next big trends for the next 5 years?
Trends in terms of real estate?
Real estate, yeah.
So I think, I mean, as you said, you just mentioned about hybrid, right? So the thing, everything is going to be about being close to everything, right? Because I think traveling in Bangalore will become a challenge.
It is already a challenge.
It's a huge challenge. So I think it will only be the developers, the entrepreneurs solving this problem, whether in terms of electric bikes, whether in terms of making the right sort of homes, whether integrating a home and office in a particular space. So I think everyone's going to move into that. The trend's going to change. You're going to see a lot of unique designs. People might not just be in the city. We might have farmhouses back this thing. You might have something pertaining to health. That those spaces is what's going to boom on a larger way. So I think people are more worried about how much time to invest. They all want to be part of Bangalore, but they want their life to be a lot more easier. And of course, we are happy if the government sort of has an idea in terms of where we're thinking. But I think so far, whatever you see in Bangalore is all thanks to all the developer community as a large in terms of putting that space out there.
And Bangalore, I feel like splitting into smaller cities because there are small pockets where you have everything around you that caters to your needs.
Yeah, that absolutely. I mean, I think that's exactly, it's already happening, and I think there will be better planning going forward. I feel the city should keep moving outside, and like you have places like Dodbalapur, Chikbalapur, towards pockets near Hosur, and all those areas. All these areas are going to have better and a more planned development because I feel it's very much needed because with the internet, with a few access points, being outskirts also helps in terms of getting your work done.
You can choose the kind of life you want.
Correct.
I mean, because you're an architect, this is a selfish question to ask you, but how much of what you learn in architecture school is not, how do you apply that in real life in an ongoing project?
See, I mean, I know you'd probably hear a contradiction on this question. Okay. I would totally disagree. I've learned a lot from my college, RV college, and I had a very good head of department, Dr. Anand Krishna, and a lot of good staff there who really, taught us design. I feel they gave us that sort of skill set. Of course, as youngsters, we always be like, oh, we should have gone to this university, that university. And also, they've encouraged us to do shorter courses. So I did a shorter course in Architecture Association London, which sort of gave me a glimpse of where, as an Indian student, where do we stand?
Okay.
And they're shorter courses, so you can come back, focus on your career, rather than get too dissolved in design. So I think, I keep telling a lot of people, do shorter courses. It gives you that right guidance. But of course, studying here has helped. And then transitioning, from a boy to a man, right? When you get to the real world, that happens with the right set of bosses, right? Who you work with.
Yeah, your experience,
Yeah,
the first few.
yeah. So that them putting you on the floor, pulling you up wherever needed, that's really helped me. I think every stage of the time I've stepped into an architecture school has changed the way I see things or the perspective. So I would not contradict. I think it really helped me in terms of a foundation, and there's still a lot more to learn from in terms of people we meet and collaborate. And so it's all about collaboration. That's the design mindset we've been taught, right? So it's never like, oh, I know it all, or it's never. It's always a lot of collaboration. So
I mean, rightfully you said it's actually a mindset change that happens, in undergrad when you go to especially a creative school like architecture or design. When that mindset change happens.
Mindset change. I mean, even as a school of architecture, it was in an engineering college back in Mysore Road, right?
Okay.
And that was the only architecture space. That was the only live, buzzing, innovative space in RV. I mean, because at that time there were a lot of engineering colleges which were there for so many years, and they had the same curriculum, right? So, I mean, I would never probably do a civil engineering. I don't think I would have survived even the first few months, right? So I think architecture really opens your perspective. I mean, like even right now when we're designing buildings and all that, I mean, if you've seen the series Prison Break, you see Michael Scofield closing his eyes, he gets an idea of the DNA of the building.
It's imagination.
Yeah. So we can imagine things, and of course, all these things have been curated over time, in terms of the right teachers, the right mentors, and
is a great institution.
Yeah, it is. So I think I'm very thankful that all that happened, and also we've met the right set of people there, and the transition has been good. I think I would never complain. I think it's given me the right foundation.
I mean, I wanted to ask you if you have an advantage, but clearly you do have an advantage. Because we have a lot of real estate developers who aren't from a civil engineering or architecture background. So after this conversation, I know you have a little edge on them because you kind of lived through that process.
I mean, edge, yes. I mean, in terms of design, in terms of construction, I would not say advantage, because everybody comes with their advantage on the table. I mean, grass looks green on the other side. So I have developer friends. Some of them are CAs, right? And they bring in a very interesting perspective in terms of the costing, saving tax. And so that is another art. That's another, financial architecture they bring in, the play they bring in. So I think each person has their own mojo perspective in terms of what their secret ingredient will be. So I would never discount saying someone has an advantage. Yes, I have this advantage because I chose this as a passion. I went really extreme in terms of design. And of course, back in college, we had a lot of competition projects where to design the Bengaluru airport and all that. So it really helped us in terms of pushing
this. Tell us a little bit about that, because I know you won an award for one of the designs. So tell us a little bit about how that.
So that was, of course, the Bengaluru airport that time was the most buzzing thing. They had the best setup, the best team, and they still do. So of course, they went to a bunch of architects. They got this thing. Then I think the CEO back then had this idea of putting out a competition project. So we had a lot of students across, and I believe it or not, I mean, we were the last people to enter in, because it was two of my juniors and me as a team, and about 800 of us. And freshly, I'd just come back from AA London. I did a short course. So that whole perspective in terms of how you present, how you create prototypes, that gave me that little edge. And it was just a 1-month course, so that sort of really helped me present the ideas, concepts. So I was way ahead in terms of understanding the concept part of it, just because I was guided right. That's purely it. So that was back then. And then of course we were able to sort of convince the jury among 800 entries, and we were pushing our design background. So I'd gone through that so many hours of work in design.
Yeah.
So every time any challenge which comes in, I see it as a way of improving, your whole, in design. So that happened then, and we're very grateful that we could win, and we managed to get a bit of the master plan, whatever you see today in the airport, and they've of course done a fabulous job now in terms of what it is at this point.
Bangalore is very proud of it.
Yeah, it's a landmark. Yeah.
Lovely. I know RJ Group does in-house construction. What is the involvement of tech in that field?
So I think tech. There are only a few ways of adding tech. What you're talking in terms of the planning or in terms of the final finishing?
In the actual construction.
So I think tech is only into. Of course, building inventory management, that is something which really helps. But I don't think we've been extremely successful using BIM to a large extent, because I think it still has some more time to evolve. We've not been very, very successful in terms of making our teams implement it. So I think there will be a day, and of course that's a start in the right direction. But there will be a day when we'll all be going in that direction, because that'll help us grow. So I think that one space will create. But I'm not sure if AI and all these things will help. Maybe technology in terms of measurements or getting bill checking done, just to save that man hours, right? So our whole goal is whatever technology comes in terms of saving that man hour time. Yes, that's going to help the industry, and that's something we as a company will definitely utilize it.
So just passing by Old Madras Road the other day, and I saw one of your projects, Lake Karina. It looked very interesting. So kind of take us through what your design ideology with it.
So of course the first thing was to make a landmark project, and we had a 400 feet frontage, right? So that's what attracted us, and the potential of Old Madras Road in terms of what's happening on that road, in terms of industrial parks, IT parks, offices. So we were very clear that if we're doing something, we do it to a certain target audience. So we've designed it to be a very unique 3 and 4 bedroom styled.
Okay.
And even our 4 bedrooms, we've got like a villa and an apartment concept where you see openings in the building. So it's a private garden floating between a few floors.
Oh, wow.
And of course, the whole intent was to change the skyline of Bangalore, right? To sort of force people to do something different in that whole area. And that's the gateway to, Kiarpuram. So that we said, okay, let's try and do something a bit unique. And we've envisioned that whole project, and so we've had the right sort of response just post COVID. Pre-COVID, everyone's like, "What are you doing? We want smaller sizes and a whole bunch of things." But I'm glad we stuck to our vision, and my father was very clear. He's like, "Yes, there are going to be challenging times, but you want to create something for yourself, you have to go all out." So yes, it's come out beautifully, and we've taken the best consultants. We've taken, Sterling Bombay has helped us, in terms of putting up that structural design completely. We had a few Bombay consultants help put up that whole building. So, of course, a lot of collaboration, a lot of learning. It was almost 7 designs we had sketched. I personally sketched, and we're like, okay, what do we do? What do we do? And then we're seeing the same exact thing happening everywhere. So we just didn't want to be a BHK concept. We wanted to turn tables around. And of course, we were mentally prepared, that yes, we got to be patient, have that resilience in terms of putting a good product on the table, right? And a good product always has a good buyer. We are very clear on that.
It might take some time to find the right buyer, but they come along.
Yeah. So currently, we just see the whole traction. We see the way people are, the options of how we can customize the sizes. And for us, we are targeting a particular audience who understands that. And there were very few earlier. Now, post-COVID, as I said, there's a lot of retrospect. People are going back and, doing that thing that, okay, this is what I need in a home. I'm not going to compromise. If I get out of my bed, I need at least 3 feet between the wardrobe and the bed.
True.
I'm going to have parents living with me. They're going to leave their beautiful bungalows, and they're saying probably in Rajasthan, and then come here. And I'm not going to give them a smaller room. I'm also going to give them something sizable. So we stuck to that. So we had minimum 2,000 square feet, 3 beds. So that is where our target audience is, and that is what RGA will be standing for. So that is primarily that. And we've also just handed over another project in Brookfield. Okay. And there as well, we had about 49 filaments, right? And we've had clients who are combining units and making it a single unit,
scaling it up,
and we're like, what have we done this thing? So we've got the right target audience, and that target audience is slowly going up. I mean, as I said, probably as you go higher up the triangle is also getting fatter. The mid area, so we're seeing a huge demand there. And of course, Lake Gardenia has come out exactly what we've envisioned it to be, with no compromise.
It looks lovely. I mean, it's also something that catches your eye when you're passing by.
So we have that's what we wanted. We didn't want people are walking just looking at the elevation and coming like, hey, what is this? And they're so amazed that something like this can be carved out. So that sort of pushes the biofabric over a period of time, and that also challenges other builders also to do something different. So it's all about challenging ourselves.
And there's so many players now. I think this kind of sets you apart from others.
That's primarily the real reason why we put something up like this. That's primarily key. I mean, it's not like we're not going to be doing affordable. We will be doing affordable. Even affordability has a sensibility to the way we need to sort of position it. We need to think of the lighting, so our version of affordability will be defined in a certain way. I mean, that's every builder has their own pros or their own business plan. So we are happy and content in terms of putting out products, putting out spaces carved out in this particular manner. So I think every developer should do it the right way, but of course, at the same time, maintain the basic aesthetics of the building, not just stick to that elevation architecture, which I was mentioning to you, and bring in more depth into a particular space, not just in terms of 2D, also in terms of a 3D space. Yeah.
What is next for RJ Group? I mean, I know you guys do commercial residential. What is really in the pipeline?
So, of course, we are fully focused on Bangalore. So in Bangalore, I mean, I would not talk the typical northeast south, but yeah, I mean, we have certain pockets closer to Devnali, certain areas in Kerpuram, certain areas in the south of Bangalore where we'd like to do, again, budget residential home, but again, redefining it. Secondly, we'd also like exploring spaces of senior living if we can, add value in terms of.
It's a huge market now.
It is huge, but it also has a sequence of things. But I feel we can add a lot of value, considering our company ethos. We can add a huge amount of value in that particular space, and then also in terms of health and in terms of lifestyle. So we're looking at probably tying up with a few Ayurvedic centers and make make villas connected to that, and then add in a huge wellness angle to it. So we'd probably be in a space where we add value rather than volume. So that's something we like to focus on specifically.
From my research, I've seen that RJ Group is kind of open to NRI investments or has already had some. What has your experience been with it, or what's your take on it?
So I think NRIs have always always taken advantage of the dollar fluctuation, and of course Bangalore or India has always been very friendly towards the NRIs. So I think mainly purely on those lines, and I think a lot of NRIs now are primarily looking at something where they can buy for their parents. I think that's why I mentioned senior living, and so that's where most of their money is going in, or farmhouses, or they come in with a lot of friends who they've stayed in Kuwait or Dubai with a group of friends. All of them come by something jointly.
An investment property or familiar investment.
Investment or familiar investment. So that used to happen. I think NRI investment is one thing, but I think right now the domestic buyers as well are as informed or as as an NRI buyer, because they have that exposure. Pre-COVID, I think it was a lot of NRI because they get you. You're like, okay, this is what it is. This is where you're going towards. I've seen the world. I know this.
It's a global theme. I can get behind it.
Yeah. And also the main thing is, they are sort of making investments and trying to get a good ROI on the currency fluctuation and the property appreciation.
I'm just going to shift a little focus to now, Karan as a person. You are the secretary of CREDAI Bengaluru, and so how does that kind of help your business or tie into your business?
So I think as a developer, I always, as I mentioned, collaborating is key. But I think in any industry, like if the industry body works together, it creates the best environment for that particular industry specific. Of course, Creda, we get to work with a lot of our role models, for free of course. We get free advice. And more importantly, it also brings in terms of what value you can add onto the table in terms of, setting the right precedents or the right intent. And for me as a youngster being, of course, this is the third governing body. I've had the privilege of, being in Mr. Kishore Jain's governing body where he was the president, and then Mr. Bhaskar Nagendrapa, who was the previous past president. So we had, a really good time there where we all were, sort of taught a lot of things. We were diamonds in the rough and now polished. And of course, now there has been a good role and responsibility given. And it's more about giving back to the community as much as you can. And we are always guided by the seniors.
The Creda is kind of transitioning now. Usually you would see only senior members be in leadership roles. But now that change has happened, more youngsters are kind of getting feeded into the...
Yeah. So I think the credit goes to seniors as well, because the shift in mindset for them also to accept that they wanted, a lot of younger people coming in. And Bangalore being Bangalore, I don't think we have this kind of ecosystem in any other city, right? I mean, this is the best city you could probably be part of, the fabric of developers we have. So I think it was a shift in mindset. They said, okay, hey, let's start giving the younger set of people ideas, in terms of this thing. And of course, they're still there as a backbone. And they have built this, and of course, it's a tremendous responsibility.
You'll always need them in that way, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, always mentoring us.
What are the new initiatives that we know that you guys can bring now as youngsters part of Creda?
So, I mean, the single thing which we want to bring in terms of policy making is ease of doing business, right?
Okay.
Is always making the government or governance bureaucrats understanding the ease at which things can be done faster. Projects can get delivered a lot more faster. Clearances, a lot of land conversions, to try and, cut on that time and try and keep things a lot more simpler. So that is where we are actually more focused on. And we are working along with, most every government coming in. We've worked hand in glove in terms of understanding what the pain points are, how can we streamline things, how can we cut unnecessary hours, unnecessary paperwork.
Really is the key with this sort of.
So I think that's where we play a big role. It's primarily that, nothing else. Purely a pure ease of doing business, because whatever we try and do, it is not just going to affect the credit developer. It's going to affect any person building a house, home, or any kind of structure in the whole of Bangalore and Karnataka.
And there's so many other people in professions that get tied to real estate that eventually affects everyone, including the end home buyer. So
absolutely
makes sense. I mean, that's a great initiative. We hope to see big changes then in the future.
We hope, we pray. We're working on it on a regular basis. Yeah.
Lovely. What's next for Karan? I mean, what are the opportunities you're looking forward to exploring?
Opportunities on business, or because
keep the business out of this. Is just in terms of who do you want to be next, or what kind of opportunities are you looking forward to?
So I think I would probably be in any space which probably is connected to health or anything to do with wellness. That's something I'd want to be associated with, whether in terms of food or whether in terms of any particular service. So I primarily think that's something I can probably add value in terms of the design, the space, the aesthetics. Businesses which I don't have any idea on, that's something I would never get into.
Okay.
I'd probably guide and not lead, or probably be part of it, or make someone else captain it if I think it's right. But at the place where I'm at and the current situation, I think I'd probably be in a business where I have a say. And I think it'll be more in terms of wellness and health. That's primarily where I'll.
That is kind of the future. So
yes.
I'd like to kind of end this podcast with, I think is a very good question, but you can disagree. What is the one advice that you'd give, a youngster entering a familial business?
So, any youngster entering a family business, I think the first thing is you need to understand that firstly, how many siblings you all have and what is each one's role. right? And if you're able to influence the existing family business, fine. If you're not, then if you don't see yourself being part of it, do not be part of it. Right? There's nothing wrong in it.
Yeah.
Right? So I think any family business, if you join in, if you're going to take it to the next level, it makes sense. Otherwise, it's better to sit and have an expert run the show, because it's all about, not just about running the family business. I know that, the passion at which you'll probably do things is good, but also in terms of taking the responsibility on a good day and a bad day. So that, that has to be a very important mindset. And of course, the willingness to learn from seniors, and how to adapt change in the right way, how to confidently do it with every single. It's not like it's going to be told to you, but those initiatives, how you bring and implement it, is again key. So
and
that
also already working with someone who's great at what they do. So I think adding that extra bit is
yes, absolutely.
That brings us to the end of the podcast. Thank you so much for taking the time out and being a part of this.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me over.
Thank you.
It was fun.